Okay, the sound is good.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Dimitri. So yeah, before I jump into GPI for corporates, I just wanted to get back to the initiative we called Swift GPI for banks. So you just mentioned it in the previous slide, but the beginning of the story is Swift GPI for the banks. So GPI is now live since many years, and of course, and by introducing this new technology in payment processes, Swift helped the industry to address the challenges of cross-border payments. Of course, many challenges. So for many years, we heard from our community that correspondent banking was very complex. And cross-border payments were taking multiple days to be delivered to beneficiaries, and customers were facing lack of traceability and transparency. So as a corporate customer, of course, how many requests did you send to your banks to know where a payment is or asking to investigate about non-receipt on beneficiary side? How many copy of MT103 did you ask to your bank because the beneficiary was asking about this, about the proof of execution, and because he didn't receive the payment? So we all know that traceability is making easy the discussion with suppliers. So imagine having your supplier on the phone and being able to tell him in real time that the payment already arrived to its banks, or even better, that you can confirm that the payment has already been credited for a certain amount. It's the same for the transparency. There are many situations where beneficiaries claim non-receipt of a payment. It's just because they don't see it on their bank account. But in reality, the payment has been converted within the chain and the amount is not matching with the one expected due to this FX conversion. So FX risk is also very sensitive for a treasurer. So if you can see in real time that the payment has been converted in the chain of the payment execution, you can react fast and contact your bank, for example, to intervene before the payment lands to the beneficiary account. So this is what GPI allow, real-time information. And of course, before GPI, the banks were sending manual messages to the network, to the different banks of the chain. And it could take multiple days or sometimes weeks in some countries. But since with GPI, banks are exchanging messages with the GPI tracker, and they are able to get in real time statuses of payments. They can also get deducts that has been taken in the amount by the intermediary banks and the FX rate if there is any conversion of a payment in another currency. So this is very important, transparency. So the GPI tracker in this story is a master element of this new way of paying. Another enhancement that GPI is allowing, which helps a lot customers, it's about the remittance information. So the remittance information, it's where corporate as an ordering party include some information, useful information for the beneficiary. Could be the invoice number or a purpose of payments. By the way, the purpose of payments is sometimes mandatory in some countries. So the remittance information is really, really important for the reconciliation. And the acceleration of this remittance slow down the straight-through reconciliation process. And of course, this will lend to delay on the delivery of goods because suppliers will take time to identify that the specific invoice is related to a specific payment. So in a GPI world, remittance information must be delivered unaltered to Bank, to the beneficiary, and to the beneficiary banks. This is part of the rules. So this is how beneficiaries can get full and richer data to improve settlement and reconciliation. So this is what all GPI is provided to the banks, that the bank can relay the benefits to the corporates. So in a nutshell, Swift GPI has transformed the cross-border payment service that banks can offer to the customers, to the corporate, to the end users. And now corporate can make high-speed international payments settled in minutes, track their payment in real time, and receive confirmation when the payment is credited and get transparency on the deducts, for example. So now let's see when your bank is GPI enabled, what kind of service you can get as a corporate. There is different level of services that the GPI bank can deliver to the customers. The basic service, the first column you will see about a service that the bank can deliver, it's to improve the customer support. So of course, by getting access to the tracker, the bank is getting an interface of the tracker to get information about payments. And then the customer support can in real time look into the tracker, make some request about a specific payment, and answer faster to the query that you will send to the customer support. Could be via email or by phone, of course. So the customer support will be able to inform you in real time about where the payment is, the status, and of course, if there is any issues within the chain. The second level of service, the intermediary level, I would say, of support, is when customers can get tracking statuses via the web portals of the banks. So the GPI banks are using the tracker insights to provide real-time information in the web portals. This is dedicated to corporates working with few banks and which are okay to use multiple portals because, of course, you might use a different interface of the banks. But still, it's a way to get real-time information about your cross-border payments. But we know that today many corporates work with multiple banking partners to support their global operations. This brings complexity, of course, and in particular consolidating payment information from different formats via different channels, and it also creates challenges which post-payment operations such as reconciliation, as I said earlier. So today we are able to propose a service adapted to these multi-bank corporates through the advent of GPI for corporates, G4C. We say G4C because GPI for corporates is sometimes quite long. This solution is fully automated and it brings an overview of all payments sent or received. You will see that in a minute with the two capabilities that are in the portfolio, with all of the bank account that you will own via your treasury management system. So this is GPI for corporates automated solution. Okay. So now if we look at the portfolio of G4C, we have two capabilities. So I will explain here in this diagram the first one, which we call pay and trace. So pay and trace, it's a solution to track the outgoing payments. Okay, so how does it work? The first step of this solution is when the corporate will initiate a payment via MT101 or Pay 001, for example, including the unique reference, the GPI reference. It's a key element, UETR, unique end-to-end transaction reference. So this unique reference, this end-to-end reference, comes from the corporate when they initiate the payments, okay, from the ERP system, for example. And then what happened? The G4C bank, receiving your instruction, they will generate MT103 and keep the UETR that you have generated. So the UETR will be the same, and the payment in the network will keep this same reference, and then will allow an end-to-end tracking. Okay, this is the error number 2. So in G4C process, the bank will receive specific notification. No, not yet. Thank you, Xenia. The bank will receive specific notification coming from the tracker about tracking status, but not only. They will get deducts, they will get the BIC of the banks where the payment is, and of course there will be different statuses that the payment has been sent or blocked somewhere pending or credited to the beneficiary side. And with this notification, what the banks need to do is to relay those notifications to the corporate, to the end user. And the G4C banks will have 30 minutes maximum to relay this to the corporate. This is error number 4. So fully integrated, as you can imagine, this is the multi-bank automated payment tracking solution for the outgoing payments, which provides full traceability, payment certainty, because you will know when the payment has been credited on the account, and detailed insight on statuses, deducts, and routing. And then corporates will be able to confirm to beneficiary that the specific payment has been credited in real time and solve some issue that you might face during the chain. This is pay and trace. Okay. So now if we look at the second capability, it's the inbound tracking. So inbound tracking, it's a solution always about tracking payments, but this time, this is about tracking the incoming flows. So as a corporate supplier, you are beneficiary in that role. You are the beneficiary of a specific payment. And with inbound tracking, you are provided with an advanced view on incoming payments, their progress, because you will get different statuses all along the chain, with real-time payment advice, for example. So as soon as a payment has been sent, you will be advised. So how does it work? Again, with the diagram. When a payment is sent on Swift network, okay, so it doesn't mean that you have any kind of information about this payment. It's just that Swift detects, the tracker will detect that a payment has been sent for a G4C bank. Okay, so as soon as the beneficiary bank BIC is G4C, the tracker will start generating notification to be sent to these banks to inform that a payment is in flight. So this is a payment advice. Okay, the first information statuses. So then the bank will be able to know that this payment is coming for this specific customer. Okay, this is really the difference between GPI and G4C. The G4C bank will get advanced detailed on the beneficiary, the end beneficiary, the corporates. And of course, then the role of the G4C bank will be to relay those notifications to the corporate to inform that the payment is coming, and then the payment is pending, and then that the payment is credited on its account in real time. So this is really the difference between what we can see today with intraday reporting and with G4C, because this is really an advanced view on incoming in-flight traffic flows. So by getting an advanced view of these incoming payments, corporate will be able to better manage its liquidity, of course, and improve the treasury management for sure. So this is really what inbound tracking is about. Okay. Of course, if you have questions about these two capabilities, don't hesitate to put them in the Q&A. So let's see and recap the value proposition of G4C. So just to conclude, so G4C, it's a payment tracking solution that enables corporate to track and get insights on outgoing and incoming payments. And of course, for GPI banks to deliver concrete and real-time information about payments to their customers. What does it bring to corporate customers? First, G4C is a bank agnostic solution. This aims to centralize and provide a better view on the liquidity management and improve the liquidity management of the corporate. The second value is the standardization. It is a key. G4C banks are delivering the same information to customers in the same way, so the integration for the corporate will be easier. The rules are all detailed in a specific rulebook that GPA banks must implement to be G4C compliant. And of course, this document sets out all the business rules that you can get access if you become a G4C member. And we also provide technical specification to all GPI for corporates community. Okay, so for corporates, what does it mean? It means that they will get with this standardization a common experience across their banks to track payments, outgoing and incoming payments. Okay, we know that corporates are using different formats as well with their banks. Therefore, we are providing the specification in different formats. We provide FIN specification for MT101 and MT199, ISO as well for PAIN 001 and also mapping for PAIN 002 for pay and trace, and a TRCK 004, which is really an ISO format, the ISO format dedicated to tracking reporting. So keep in mind that the TRCK 004 will enable corporates to get the most of what an ISO format can deliver in terms of rich information. Okay, and we also provide API standardized specification for the banks who will be willing to use API or to deliver tracking via API to their customers. This is for the format. And another value that corporates can get is, of course, the automation in the treasury management system and the ERP system as well. So we are closely working with vendors to make sure that they will be fully prepared to onboard corporate customers. we have launched last year a dedicated label for corporates application providers. And during this during the labeling program, we assess technical and functional features of the vendor to make sure that corporates will get all benefits of the tracking solution. And for example, we ask for a demo to make sure that the interface is user-friendly and that the statuses are easy to read. But we assess a lot of different aspects as well. And as you can imagine, IntellectEU is one of the label vendor. It has passed all the different assessment that we needed to do for the label. And you will see in the next part of the webinar how PayLocator can enable you to use G4C and to get the most and the best of what the service is delivering to the corporates. So I think, Ksenia, it's now over to you for next session.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sabrina. And now we understand what GPI for corporate solution could propose to its users. And now we know the answer to the main questions about J4C GPI. So why global payment innovation? Now we completely understand that it's because you receive speed, transparency, predictability for all your SWIFT transactions, especially for cross-border transactions. Why for corporates? Because you get the opportunity to make real funds forecasting, establish stable business relations, and implement effective operations processes. That's very important for corporates, so big corporates, and it's not for big too. What kind of information could be provided by GPI trackers? So it's a timing, deductions, exchange rates, pending and rejection statuses. So actually all necessary information for treasury manager in order to understand the real situation with payments. And now let's discuss how corporation can see, use, and analyze this information for more effective business processes. And I give the floor to Ksenia, who will answer on this very interesting question. So Ksenia, it's your turn. Welcome.
Thank you. Indeed, Swift J4C, it's an incredible source of data. So let's see how it's possible to use it for payment tracking and analysis. Classically, the main purpose of the data analysis for business is to bring the insights. And insights allow making the business decision. The tools can be different, but in the perfect world, they should simplify the data processing. Thus, I would like to introduce our product, PayLocator, that presents the tracking information for payments and gives a possibility to share this information with non-SWIFT counterparties. During the discussions with our clients, we found the common issues that can be described as follows. Firstly, in the case of the multi-bank accounts, a SWIFT corporate must access several banks' platforms to collect payment tracking information with the G4C solution. Secondly, it's essential for banks and for corporates to see all information from J4C or GPI tracking in one window. And thirdly, it would be nice to share the information with counterparties, as it helps to reduce inquiries and simply facilitate the business relations. Having cross-border payments, it's essential for corporate treasury to monitor the payments flow in real-time mode and check the charges, statuses, and timelines. Initiating the payment, a corporate can see all the information provided by G4C in PayLocator. If the corporate shares the access to this data, to this concrete transaction with its counterparty, a beneficiary corporate, it is also able to track the payment via PayLocator. Thus, the counterparty can control the incoming flow that allows to optimize the business processes and bring more confidence in business relations. If the corporate is multi-banked, just as you see on the slide, instead of various integrations with different banking systems that can be a non-trivial task, PayLocator collects all data in a single window system as a bank-agnostic solution. PayLocator, as for me, it's an elegant extension of J4C. It increases its tracking capabilities and brings the trust and confidence the business relations by sharing the information with the counterparties. As you see, here it is the friendly interface that allows adding the users, for example, payment managers, business analysts, update the corporate details, create the trust lines, and search the payments using different parameters, such as date, debtor account, creditor account, references, amount, and so on. The main tab of PayLocator allows to see all SWIFT payments and their main details and major statuses. These statuses describe how the SWIFT payment moves through the correspondent bank's chain and the issues that can happen with that payments. For example, payment was rejected, pending, etc. It's highly important for the corporate treasury to control these issues. And in this case, we decrease the necessity to contact the bank and investigate the problem. Thus, it is possible just to receive the snapshot of payment processing. The G4C corporate can see all the details of payment execution flow, including timing, charges, exchange rates, and other information provided by GPI tracking. Each payment record consists of detailed information, just as you see here. This information is taken from SWIFT G4C. Here you can see the transaction done by Alpha Inc. The beneficiary corporate is Beta Corp, and you can see the reference number of transaction and UETR that identify this payment. The transaction was initiated on September 7th. Here we can see the information about the amount and about the currency. In this particular case, $3,326 were transferred. Then the payment was debited from Alpha Inc. account and then received by the beneficiary bank. Both banks applied the deductions. The payment was credited on Beta Corp account and displayed in euro. Here you can see also the exchange rate that was applied by the beneficiary bank. So as you see, PayLocator helps to get all the benefits from G4C for tracking the payments. And again, this information can be shared with the counterparty. And it gives the possibility to extend the number, the quantity of the received information. There are some additional questions, for example, average time for transaction, total charges, probability of any issues with payments that can be raised, and actually they are. And the answers can be helpful for building optimal business flows. Let's see a small example based on descriptive analytics. Here you can see some metrics that were built on data received from PayLocator via API. This sample consists of 531 records and represent the payment with different statuses. You can see here like the average charges of transactions that allow estimate the deductions for the payment and include them in the operating costs. There are two indicators, average and maximum time for the payment processing, that give the information about the possible issues with payment. We all know that GPI allows fast payment processing. Thus, in case if those indicators have high values, the payment was pending or lost. And in this case, you just need to check this payment using the tracking functionality, for example, of PayLocator, the PayLocator payment tab. Also, you can see here the charges per transaction and the payment status is split that shows the distribution of statuses for the current moment of time. All transactions with possible issues are presented in the separate table. Here, the cancelled transaction and transaction where the pending time is greater than 5 hours are selected. And the last chart represents the amount per counterparty that allows to see the main business flows of the company. Of course, the scope of methods and metrics can be extended, for example, to predictive and prescriptive analytics methods. But in any case, using SWIFT G4C and PayLocator as some kind of extension of the SWIFT G4C, it's relatively easy to receive the insights from the payment information. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ksenia. Now we see how many interesting and useful things corporation can get from the J4C made by Swift and from PayLocator made by IntellectEU. It's time to talk about how you can get it in real life, how corporates and banks can get a subscription for these products. I mean, for J4C, and how short is onboarding procedure, how simple is starting conditions, how low is the cost about it. So that's why I invite Sabrina to tell us about this important, very important things. Sabrina,
Yeah,
please.
thank you. So of course I will focus on the Swift part, the onboarding with the banks. You need to be discussed with the banks, but still have a look here on the onboarding journey for corporates, very in few words. So the first step for a corporate joining G4C is to identify the G4C partners. It's really important. This is the very first step and the most important one, I would say. The consultation with the partners is a key. You need to define which bank will be able to support you, to expose which capability, pay interest or inbound tracking, depending on which one you would like to implement, in which channel, format, and so forth and so on. And of course, the application providers as well. So the providers can demonstrate what G4C capability they are able to integrate, and this must be discussed with both of these partners, of course. Then you will start your onboarding project. So here it's to define with your partners how you will onboard. I will explain in a minute how Swift can support you in this step, but this is to define the better project for you to go on G4C and to activate the service on Swift.com. Okay. Then the implementation and testing. Again, depending on if you do the onboarding with Swift or with the banks, you will be able to do testing with our testing facility, the GCAT. We call GCAT. For the banks, you know GCAT for the GPI banks because this is the same tool. Or you can, for corporate, directly test with your bank via their own testing environment. Okay. And the steps here is very important that you add your BIC as a user in the G4C closed user group, the Swift closed user group. This is a mandatory step to use the service. Okay. And then you go live, you send your first flow in production and start receiving tracking information, tracking notification from your banks. And this is where you are live with the service and starting getting all the benefits of G4C. Okay, so this is really the different steps for the onboarding. And then if I move to the next slide, I will explain, okay, how can I activate the service as a corporate? Okay, so if you're a corporate willing to use G4C, the first step will be to activate the service on Swift.com. It's a single activation. There will be no additional cost for Swift Corporate on Swift side, which means that you will be able to use the service with your bank. And this capability is really part of your SCORE contract, your SCORE membership. So no more fee to activate the service. So it's really simple to do it. You can join us. We have a subscription guide to explain how you will complete the e-form on Swift.com because it's digitalized. And about the onboarding, of course, there will be different options. If you will be, if you would prefer, I would say, to onboard directly with the banks and the partners and the vendors, you can directly onboard with them. It's a self-service onboarding, okay? No need to have Swift involved. Your G4C bank, which is already enabled, will be able to explain how does it work, what would be the statuses, what will be the specs, and so on and so forth. So no problem for the banks to onboard you. They are having enough knowledge to do it. Okay, same for the vendors. For the labeled one for sure, but for the others as well, might sometimes the vendors, even if they don't get the label, they can support you. But still, we open the door to customers if they want to have Swift involved during the onboarding. So of course, we have different packages. We have a full onboarding pack, an assistance where Swift is really supporting you during the onboarding with your bank, for example, as well, and of course the vendor. We have a limited pack, a limited assistance. So here we are more in level 2 support for those customers, for the corporate willing to use this limited onboarding assistance. Here is the vendor taking the lead, definitely, and the banks, of course. And the supplementary readiness assistance is really when you already complete the first onboarding and you want to extend this to another branch, another big, or for banks as well to extend their capabilities in other countries. Okay, this is optional, of course, but still, if you would like to have Swift, you can. If you want to onboard with your bank, it's free. It's free of charge, of course, and you are free to do so. So this is really simple. Activation on Swift.com is a mandatory step. So if you're a Swift customer or if you are willing to become a Swift customer, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we will explain how to activate the service. And for banks, of course, we also have some support for you if you are interested. You contact your relationship manager and we can have a bilateral discussion to deep dive. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sabrina. Now let's summarize the information that was presented to you. By using Swift GPI or Swift J4C in combination with the pay locator, your company or bank can significantly increase the operational efficiency of its business, increase its speed, and improve predictability. That is very important. You can monitor your transactions and check their progress. And what is also important is it does not require complicated and expensive implementations. Now it's time for questions, and I think that we already received some. First question about the procedure of installation of pay locator. It's on-premises solution, or it could be installed on the only on web version. How it works? I think that I can answer on the question. So pay locator is a solution that could be installed on bank, on the corporation, on G4C, Swift member corporation, I mean, on premises, or you can use web interface of the solution. Depends on your preferences, so we don't have any special requirements for this. So next question I see on how corporate connected to Swift and how we can receive J4C subscription. I think that could you please provide a better instruction? I think that Sabrina already answered on the question. Sabrina, if you would like to add something, maybe, no? About this procedure of connection of onboarding for J4C for corporation. Sabrina, you're on mute.
Let me try to mute.
Yes, I don't have the right to unmute myself. So Xenia is the host. Yes, for the no problem. Yeah, for to activate the service, this was a question about activation, Dimitri. Can you say it again?
Yeah,
activation. Yes. Yeah. So if you're already a Swift corporate, you can just reach out to your relationship manager, and we have a subscription guide. So it's really simple. You go on Swift.com and you look at the GPI for corporate page. So you look first at GPI, and then you will land to GPI for corporate solution, and you will see that there is a subscription. Okay, subscribe to GPI for corporate service. It's this first e-form, and you can even complete it on your own. You don't need us to approve, but still, if you need us to guide you in the different information that you need to complete, we can provide you a guide, but you just have to go there and to activate the e-form. So you no need from Swift to provide you more. If you already talk to your bank and you know that your bank can provide you the service, it's really simple. But of course, for additional information, we can as well support.
Thank you. And next question, I think, Sabrina, also for you. Are there any requirements for the bank? I think it means that if a bank want to be a J4C enabled bank, yeah?
Yeah. So the banks needs to be first GPI banks, okay? So G4C, it's an optional service of GPI, so a GPI for corporates. So the GPI banks are able to opt for G4C and to subscribe as well and to implement. But the requirement for those banks, for the community of banks at Swift, it's first to be GPI. But we see that some banks are doing both implementation at the same time. We have some banks joining and implementing GPI and following with G4C at the same time and activating the G4C notifications to serve their clients.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the next question, can the solution be integrated with a CRM system? It's not very clear what kind of solution it means. So I can answer it for Paylocator, and you can answer it, Sabrina, after that for J4C and GPI. Yeah. For Paylocator, we have, as you saw, user-friendly interface, and we have API provided, so it's very easily to integrate the Paylocator with your CRM or with your operating or with your treasury system as you prefer, and we can support all necessary data provided by GPI tracker for your internal system. And now, Sabrina, what about integration with J4C?
Yeah, so just keep in mind that GPI for corporate, it's reporting, okay? This is really payment status report that the banks will send to the corporate. So corporate will integrate it the way they are already integrating other kind of reporting. They could be by using an interface of a provider. Sometimes we also see some corporates having in-house solution to integrate their own reporting in their own application. So there is different way, but G4C, it's more or less the same kind of reporting that you already receive from your banks. Okay, it's nothing more. Is the new, the innovation is that you receive information that you didn't use to receive because the bank didn't get it in the past, and now we provide with the tracker insights about payment themselves. But then there are reportings. Okay, so there is different way for corporates to integrate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. The next question, does Paylocator support ISO? I think that it means ISO 20022. Yes, Paylocator can upload data from the ISO messages. Like Sabrina mentioned, this different type of PAN and TRCK. And we can, how to say, integrate all these types of messages we receive from corporation to our interface and provide all necessary statistic data and information within Paylocator. It's already a few times I see the same question. What about the video from this webinar? Yes, we make a video recording of this webinar. The video will be available upon request. You can send your request by email on the address that you receive your confirmation of the webinar. Address of our education team from IntellectEU or my address. It depends on it's different kind of confirmation. We will send to our participants, and I think that okay, no more questions, and we more or less in time with our webinar. So I would like to say thank you very much, first of all, for our participants and for our speakers. Thank you very much, Sabrina. It was very, very interesting information. I'm sure that it was very useful for our guests, for corporation, and for banks too. Thank you very much, Ksenia. It was really very, how to say, convenience and interesting information, how to really we can use the data. If you have, our dear guest, if you have any questions to Sabrina, you can contact your Swift account manager and ask the question through the your account manager. If you have any questions about Paylocator and screen, now you see the our email address, our general email address of Paylocator team. Or of course, you can contact with me or with Glenn Galchenko, our education team, in order to obtain more information about Paylocator, ask about demo, or receive more necessary details that will be interesting for you. Now, thank you very much. I think that we can already finish. Yeah, it's no more question. Okay, no more question. So thank you very much, dear guests.
Thank you.
I hope to see you on the next webinars, because this one is the only first one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.